Here's part one of a two-part little set, and this is the glass half full video. So positivity coming up. Hey there, this is Perch, talking about the things that are good in comics. This is the first in a two-part little set of videos. One, glass half full, and the other, Image Comics in the 90s. No, it's glass half empty, which I guess for retailers was the image revolution in the 90s. No, there were good and bads, but whatever. Like the point of this video set. So we want to start out with the positivity side. So what are some things that are going really well within comics in the industry? We hear a lot about the problems, and it's often more fun and more engaging to talk about the problems. You know, if something is working, you leave it alone. You enjoy it. You can say, I really enjoy this, but there's not too much more to do with it after that point. So more attention gets focused on the negativity because the problems, people try and offer solutions. People try and pinpoint exactly what the problem is. So a lot of conversation, a lot of time, a lot of hours go to that side of the world. So starting with the positivity of comics. You know, the biggest and probably I think most exciting thing for creators and for readers alike is that there's never been a moment where it's easiest to get your comic made and to get in the hands of readers. If you're a fan, there's a lot of comics to choose from. Now, granted, you might have to dig a little bit for it, but certainly through the local comic shop, you've got more than 100 comics coming out every single month. Big shops will have over 200 books out every single month for you to look at. And chances are there's a comic in that 200 that you will enjoy. Something is there. You may have to go deep into the indies. You may like the latest issue of Spider-Man. Either way, chances are there's a comic being printed that you're going to enjoy. And if not, if for some reason you don't have access to that library, or for some reason you are the person that none of those books speak to, well, there is a very healthy indie market, both on the web, online comics, and material people are putting out digitally. But maybe you don't like to read digital. Okay, there's a lot of crowdfunded Indiegogo titles out there that you can still get your hands on, not hand, hands. That J.J. Abrams Spider-Man book shook me. The Keanu Reeves Peter Parker with one kind of claw hand. So, can't get it out of my mind. But you can get comics is the point. If you want to read a story, if you want to see something different, if you're interested in something, chances are it's out there. Almost every topic is covered. There's a wide variety of art styles and formats to pick from. And if, let's say then still nothing new, nothing being published is what you like. There are now greater access to back issues than we've ever had before. Yes, through digital, through big giant digital catalogs that allow you access to whatever you want, or comic shops themselves can get you back issues. If you're willing to pay the premium for getting these original issues, you can also find them. Thanks to the internet and thanks to kind of the shrinking world we have digitally. If there's not a local comic shop in your area, or if there is one that doesn't carry what you need as a back issue, you can find it. The point is, access is a huge positive for comics because we haven't had this level of access before. And that's really cool. That's what we hope for in comics, that we have this type of access, this type of quantity of books that we can read. So I think that's a major positive. It's definitely something that I think it's easy to take for granted. It's easy for the negativity to overshadow everything else. And I think if you're frustrated with comics, I think taking a deep breath, taking a step back, and kind of recognizing that there is a huge library of content out there for you, it can cheer you up a little bit. And I think not just looking at all the comic industry wronged you in some way, regardless of whatever social activity is happening, people can't retroactively go back and remove books from existence. So You know, were you a fan of Extinction Agenda back in the 90s? Great, you can find it. It's available for you. So that's a big one. Um, the another big positive, which some people I think might disagree with, is that you do have signs at the big publishers. You have some signs that they're hearing fan concerns, that they're not getting kind of the classic iconic big moments of their characters. In particular, you look at Marvel and you look at what they've done in putting Spencer on Spider-Man and kind of instructing or pushing. I think Spencer had this pitch, and editorial went along with it to let's try and get the Peter Parker and Mary Jane thing kind of back on the table and figure out how we bring some of those fans back that were frustrated or felt wronged by the kind of One More Day and Dan Slott run. So there's a good sign there. I think putting Hickman on X-Men was another good sign. It's a shame it was botched by 9 months when he was scheduled to come on by that kind of weird insertion run. But you've got a fan favorite writer doing things that appeal to the masses. You've got Garth Ennis coming on to Punisher and to Nick Fury, and classic Nick Fury as well. So it's just another sign that the publisher recognizes that there is a market and a demand from fans for kind of these classic runs. Dan Abnett moving on to the cosmic titles on Marvel, good sign. These are all good signs. I think if Marvel wants to complete the holy trinity of kind of righting wrongs or trying to make up for things, it's get. I appreciate that we got Eric Larson to come tell a Spider-Man story, but how about we cough up some cash and get Todd McFarlane to come in and tell a Spider-Man story? And while you're at it, we've got Chris Claremont on the shelf. How about we get Chris Claremont in to write an ongoing book and not just a kind of quick short story into one? These things are achievable, and for the first time in a long time, you kind of get the sense that Marvel might just do those things. That they are actually in the position where they're listening and responding to fan feedback. And over in DC, there are similar things I think to feel positive for. There is it's DC's going through a very different phase in its life, but with Doomsday Clock finally wrapping up and that book kind of being finished and there being some closure to fans there, we've got the Tom King storyline with Batman Catwoman coming to a conclusion where we're going to finally get that resolved one way or another. What comes next may not be what people want, but you do see the publisher at least taking steps to close some of these loops and perhaps provide some sense of closure to fans. And the DC as a company at various times has not done that, has just kind of let things linger on and on and on kind of aimlessly. And so you do see them at least wrapping up these things. And if you're a fan of Doomsday Clock, I think having that run completed and being able to read it all in one sitting, I think is an exciting thing. So that's another positive. I think that you're also seeing, hopefully, this is more of a me being optimistic than anything, is you are seeing some exhaustion, if you will, and on social media, you're seeing the publishers and the creators kind of starting to very slowly come around to the idea of, maybe it's not the best marketing and customer outreach plan to be antagonistic and to insult fans and to try and punk them and other things. I mean, you haven't seen those moments come up nearly as much, and the people who do it have remained kind of very much in the sidelines of maybe doing a comic or two. People can always point to this individual or that individual getting a comic or a one shot, but they're not being put on the major books. And you see at least hopefully some sense of exhaustion of the true childish stuff. Now there's still a different problem with social media, and we can get to that in the other half of this video. But you are seeing kind of a slightly better relationship starting to be formed, and that's positive. I think in general, to be kind of optimistic and positive about the whole thing, you know, the the business is stabilizing, maybe not to a place where we want it. I mean, definitely, sorry, not maybe, definitely not to a place where we want it. But, and this may be a hard thing to communicate very quickly in this video, but there's been a lot of very erratic behavior in the comics market. And, you've seen it since 2016, roughly, where 16, especially in 17, a bit in 18, and then 19, but 16 and 17 were kind of epicenter of this, where you had um, really big events pushed that just were complete bombs right out the gate. You had kind of very erratic publishing and shipping schedules where you had things kind of go down that were very harmful to comic shops to try and kind of manage and keep up with inventory. You still definitely have the problem of bait and switch to some extent with Marvel in particular, where they'll advertise a creative team, and then a couple issues later, the creative team is gone, replaced with an unknown creative team. But you're seeing a little bit less that you're starting to see maybe some recognition that those kinds of practices hurt sales and drive fans away and don't provide a sense of long-term security. So I think in 2019, what we've seen in this year so far, and where we're growing, particularly in the second half of the year, if you're looking at the solicits and the runs, you're seeing a attempt to kind of to stabilize. That's the best word for it. You're seeing at least some sense of we're not going to keep having 1 month that ships all the big titles, and the next month it has nothing major. And so for a comic shop, it's just very very erratic in terms of putting comics out and counting on sales and counting on events. You're seeing some sense of stability. I think that I think there is things to be positive for. I mean, it's the industry is still not where it needs to be. I think you have seen a lot of voices come out on YouTube, like mine, but better voices that actually have a bigger audience and say things that more people are listening to. I want to be positive, although you'll hear this crop up in the next video too. I want to think that it's positive that more people are taking responsibility for what they are saying. They've gathered an audience on social media, on YouTube, on these channels that they run. And you're seeing, at least hopefully, more a sense of responsibility of what to do with that audience and how to communicate with others and how to help rather than alarm. And I think that's a really hopefully positive thing. A really hopefully positive thing. It's a weird way of saying it. But anyway, so I'll keep this relatively short. I wanted to kind of lay out that there are some pretty major things going on in comics that we have to be we can like that have been good and positive and decent. And it's important as we get kind of the weight of problems on us that we do remember that things are not in as bad a shape as sometimes it feels. So I'll wrap this up for now. What are some other things that we have to be positive for, that are good going on in comics right now? Why don't you leave me a comment below? Let me know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notification, tell a friend. Mostly tell a friend. Tell friends. Do some marketing for me. That would be awesome. Follow me on Twitter, Comic Perch. Thanks for listening.